Shalom Israel, Shalom, Shalom. Brother Naquam, watchman for Israel, coming back at you with these precepts and another cold cut, giving, of course, all honor and glory to Yahweh, Bahashima Mashiach, Wamalaki Bashai. Double honors to the elected elders of the house of David that's been in this truth for decades and decades, patiently waiting and laboring for the second coming of our Lord Yahushai. A hearty, mighty shalom to all of the mighty men of the Most High God who are out there on the highways and byways, pushing this truth, magnifying the ministry, presenting their bodies as a living sacrifice, and enduring all things for the elect's sake. Shalom, shalom. Shalom to all of the men that may not be out there on the highways and byways as of yet, but they're working on it. They're getting built up in the spirit. They're praying, they're fasting, they're studying, they're being diligent, and they're abounding in the work of the Lord. Shalom, shalom. Shalom to all of the Aquath out there, the sincere sisters that are out there zealous, diligent, and on fire, moving in the spirit of our righteous foremothers. Shalom to the ancient men, shalom to the children, and shalom to the elect of Israel scattered abroad throughout the four corners of the earth. And shalom to everybody tuning in live through the spirit and power of Yahweh, by Shema Mashak Yabashai, Don Israel Tamid, Dinah 144K, Benjamin Youngwolf, Shalom King, Shaquat Gabar, Shalom, Yeshayahu, Sweet Styles, Tapuak, Trisha Favors, HBK Lit, Yahweh 7, Yvette McKellar, T Keeper, Nash, Hing, Brother Jermaine Irvin, Praise Yahweh, Yashab Rael, Kyoko Bayamya, and again, everybody else tuning in and that will tune in, Lord willing. Right? I mean, these are exciting times. These are very, very exciting times. These are times of judgment. These are times of major prophecy. These are times of wars. These are times of rumors of wars. These are times of sedition. This is a time of prophecy being fulfilled through the spirit and power of Yahweh and his only begotten son, Yahweh Shai. Code red, now it's looking like it may be a code orange, code yellow, but it's still prophecy unfolding. Emergency events in the Middle East, right? Emergency events in the Middle East. And if you are watching, then you see what's going on with the state of Iran, right? Or the country of Iran, the kingdom of Iran, the Islamic Republic of Iran, however you want to go about it. You see through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashmi that the Most High is using that particular nation and those Ishmaelites and them Elamites in that region to escalate and stir up prophecy and World War III, which is ultimately going to lead to the Battle of Armageddon. It's going to lead to all nations being gathered to the Valley of Jehoshaphat. It's going to lead to ultimately that seventh trumpet being blown and Yahweh shall return. But you see, there's many parties involved. You got the state of Israel involved, right? You got the so-called American government involved, right? You have all these different parties involved, and China's getting involved. Russia told America, hey, look, if we see you do anything to Iran, hey, look, it's going to be a big major problem. Now, about 20 minutes ago, they were saying that China, they're seeing Chinese jets flying over there. Now, Trump came out and he was doing a lot of talking earlier. He was doing a lot of talking. Hey, look, we're coming in there. We're going to do what we want to do. Hey, I'm the king, right? We're sending troops in there. We're dropping bombs. It's imminent. And then things kind of start de-escalating. And then he's speeding back up. So, at any given second, the Most High could do his thing down there in that region and potentially turn everything upside down. And like I was saying, these are exciting times, man. There's many prophecies unfolded through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shemi Shah. I mean, there's so much going on. I had to isolate this specific topic from other things that are going on that I wanted to touch on. Right? I mean, you have stuff going on with Greenland. You have new laws being passed, right, that go into hindering the word of the Most High. I mean, there's so much unfolding on the earth, man. So all praises to Yahweh Shemi Shah. So I'm gonna read this. This Matthew chapter 13 and verse number 14. And in them is fulfilled the prophecy of Isaiah, which said, by hearing ye shall hear, and shall not understand, and seeing ye shall see, and shall not perceive. So the people, mainly our people, are looking, and they're really not All right, let me know if you could see me and or hear me. Right? Let me know if you could see me and or hear me. Right? You see that? Right? I was rolling through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashmi Abashah about 15 minutes. Right? About 15 minutes. But all praises to Yahweh Bashmi Abashah. Right? So we're going to continue back with the word to the Lord. Right? So, like I was saying through the spirit, man, these devils are going in, saying what they want to say, doing what they want to do, but ultimately it's the will of the Most High anyway, man. And like I was saying, these are exciting times. You can't take times like this for granted, right? You can't look at what the Most High is doing on the earth and be nonchalant about it. You can't act like Yahweh Shai isn't showing you the end of the world. He's showing you the end of the world right now, and brothers are still preoccupied with the flesh, and you're too engulfed in the world to understand how close you are for this place to be going down, man. So these are exciting times. And if you're not excited, you're off. I'm gonna just come out and call it how it is. If you're not excited, you're off, right? Hey, the Lord said, lift up your head. Let me get that in Luke 21. For your redemption draweth nigh. Right? Let me get that in Luke chapter 21. Right? I don't know. Is this really, should I really be amped up about this? I mean, what, what about my job? And I was just on my way to finish my master's, and the Lord is getting in the way. That's a wicked mentality, man. That's how a lot of brothers feel. The Lord is getting in the way of you and your worldly opportunities. I was this close to getting a job, and I just wanted to relish in my new job or relish in my new car. And these prophecies always getting in the way. Just when I'm always about to make it, here come judgment from God. And that's a wicked spirit to have, right? That's a wicked spirit. This Luke chapter 21, and I'm gonna start at verse 28. And when these things begin to come to pass, then look up and lift up your heads, for your redemption draweth nigh. So when you see the prophecies unfolding, Iran, Israel, America, China, the kings of the East, and you brothers, I know you're thinking of those precepts. You're thinking of Jeremiah 50, Jeremiah 51, Revelation 9, Revelation 16, 2nd Ezra 15, 28 on down, 23 on down, 16 and 1 on down. And your head kind of lift up because you know that these are signs that Yahweh Shah is about to return. And he spake to them a parable. Behold, the fig tree and all the trees. When they now shoot forth, they see and know of your own selves that summer is now nigh at hand. Right, that's plain. You can go out in that late, March, early April, and you begin to see signs of change. You begin to see things that were once dead now so shine. It's like it now show signs of life. They begin to bud, the flowers come out, even the creeping things come out. The bees, the butterflies, the temperature gets warmer. You're able to discern that there's a change and a shift in the earth, right? Just like trees. You're able to discern and see that tree begin to bud and shoot forth flowers and leaves and fruit. Verse 31. So likewise, yea, when ye see these things come to pass, know ye that the kingdom of God is nigh at hand. Right? So when you begin to unfold and unravel these prophecies, you begin to realize that we're this close to getting out of here, man. You begin to realize and understand that everything around you is for naught and it's going to be burned and destroyed. Verily I say unto you, this generation shall not pass away till all be fulfilled. Heaven and earth shall pass away, but my word shall not pass away. Right, let me get this other one I had through the spirit. And we're going to dive into what's actually going on. Right, we're going to dive into what's actually going on. Matthew chapter 13 and verse number 14. And in them is fulfilled the prophecy of Isaiah, which said, by hearing ye shall hear and shall not understand, and seeing ye shall see and not perceive. For this people's heart is wax gross, and their ears are dull of hearing, and their eyes they have closed, lest at any time they should see with their eyes, and hear with their ears, and should understand with their heart, and should be converted, and I should heal them. And this is a prophecy, goes back to Isaiah the 6th chapter, where the Most High prophesied that a major portion of Israelites aren't going to get the truth. They're not going to discern what times that we're living in. Everybody wants to be a streamer. Everybody's occupied with fashion. Everybody wants to have the latest car. I mean, the world is so materialistic. It's full of violence. People are into just clothes, keeping up with the Joneses, being a millionaire, a billionaire, right? The new biggest invention, where the woman at, drugs, weed, clothes, the latest Jordans. PR people can't perceive what's going on. Some people never even heard of Iran. All they know is the block. I guarantee there are certain people who've never even heard of Iran. They couldn't find Iran on the map. Some people they're completely oblivious to what's going on. I mean, that's how we were in the world. We didn't know what was going on. Right? Absolutely lost. But thanks be to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, who hath imparted unto us understanding through his foreknowledge and through his divine mercy of old. Right? Verse 15. It reads, for this people's heart, this Matthew 13 and 15, for this people's heart is wax gross, and their ears are dull of hearing, and their eyes they have closed, lest at any time they should see with their eyes and hear with their ears, and should understand with their heart and should be converted, and I should heal them. So the Lord blinded them because he doesn't want them to see. That's why he said less. Less means before. It means before. So the Most High is saying, I have to blind their heart, meaning their mind. I have to shut up their ears and close their eyes before they begin to see the truth and before they begin to understand. Then they're going to convert. And if they convert, I have to heal them. So the Lord don't want to heal them. This ain't your granny's Jesus, man. Where the Lord is going to heal everybody. He's intentionally blocking people from understanding his word so they can't repent and he can't heal them. He don't want to heal them. They're not the elect. This is the Lord we're talking about. This is the reality of the matter. The Lord ain't saving everybody. He's not healing everybody. He don't want everybody to get it. Because he's going to have to heal them. He's only going to heal who was set up to be healed. Verse 16. You can say, well, that's harsh. I didn't know the Lord rolled like that. Well, you don't know the Lord, man. The Lord always has a remnant. He said, even, let me get that in Revelation, it's like in Romans, right? Let me get that in Romans 11 chapter. The Lord always has a remnant. This Romans chapter 11 and verse number 5. Even so then, at this present time, I'm going to start at 4. I mean, this whole thing is good, man. You know what? This Romans 11 and verse number 2. God hath not cast away his people, which he foreknew. What? Yea, not what the scripture saith of Elias, how he maketh intercession to God against Israel, saying. This is what Elijah told the Most High when Jezebel was killing all the false prophets. Lord, they have killed thy prophets and digged down thine altars, and I am left alone, and they seek my life. He thought he was by himself, not knowing that Obadiah was feeding prophets, I believe by 50 in the cave. He was giving them bread and water. But Elijah thought he was the only one in the truth, if you will. Verse 4. Here's what the Most High told him. But what said the answer of the Most High unto him? I have reserved to myself 7,000 men who have not bowed the knee to the image of Baal. So that there's always a remnant of men that the Lord reserved. Your life was reserved. It doesn't matter what you went through in the world, what trauma, if you was the man, if you wasn't the guy, if you had money, you didn't have money, what kind of car you had, what your upbringing was, you were reserved through all of the hell that you caught to be in this truth. The Lord put that spirit in you. Right? He didn't have to put that in everybody. He reserved that for you. And you're not going to bow the knee to the image of Baal. Meaning back then that was an actual so-called idol. Well, now that represents this system, right? Here's the point. Even so then, at this present time, also, there is a remnant according to the election of grace. So there's a portion of Israelites who are predestined to believe in this truth. And they'll never conform to the ways of the world. Not because of their works. It has nothing to do with their actions and their endeavors. But it's all about the Most High's election of grace. He has elected particular spirits to be covered by the blood of Yahushua in the last days. Right? So let's go back to this in Matthew 13. He's not healing everybody. He's healing that remnant. Matthew 13 and 16. But blessed are your eyes, for they see, and your ears, for they hear, man. So that's a beautiful thing. To understand what's going on, you have the inside scoop. There's not one political analyst. There's not one theologian. There's not one scientist. You got people live on the ground in Iran reporting, and they still don't know what's going on. They're on the ground with a CNN microphone in their hand, dodging bullets, and they still don't know what's going on. Only you know what's going on. You know the prophecy. You know the end game, why these things are happening, what the reason is. You were giving intel. You were debriefed of the mission of the Most High. And you can't take that for granted. You cannot take that for granted. Verse 17, for verily I say unto you that many prophets and righteous men have desired to see those things which they see and have not seen them, and to hear those things which they hear and have not heard them. Think about that, man. The Lord said many prophets, men like Elijah, men like Jonah, hey, those men wished death upon themselves. They said, Lord, kill me. When Elijah was back, when John the Baptist, he said, pretty much greatly paraphrasing, it's the Lord, the truth, man. Is that really the Lord? Art thou he that should come, or should we look for another? That's what he said, paraphrasing. He was in prison. Is this the truth? I mean, is that really the Lord? Abraham is praying, Lord, if it's one righteous man, save him. Isaiah looking for the end of the world. Ezra, he's asking, he's falling in trances. He's fasting 21 days, 20 plus days, eating flowers and herbs of the field just to get visions of the end of the world. Daniel, he's mourning 3-4 weeks, ate no pleasant bread, drank no wine, just to understand what was going to come in the end of the world. There are things our fathers did, and they sacrificed their flesh and their life just to be able to be in the spirit that they was in. They would love to be in these last days, man. So it's a blessing for us to be here and witness the end of all flesh. And that's what you're witnessing, man. You are indeed witnessing the end of the world, right? Let me get this. I know I spelled that wrong. So, let me get Ezekiel 7. All right, we're going to talk about what's going on, man. Just want to get this quick precept. Ezekiel chapter 7 and 1. Moreover, the word of Yahweh Bahashmi Abishai came unto me, saying, also, thou son of man, thus saith Yahweh unto the land of Israel, an end. The end is come upon the four corners of the land. And this is very true. An end is come. You're not living in the days of Genesis. This is not the days of the midst of the times. This is the end of the world. These are the last days. And the end has come. An end from the monetary system, how finances operate, entire societies, the social structure, right? The end of this man's damn building structures, armies, land masses, cities, kingdoms, technology, wealth, GDPs, wickedness, sin. The sons of men ruling the children of men. It's an end to all of that. Now is the end come upon thee, and I will send my anger upon thee, and will judge thee according to thy ways, and will recompense upon thee all thine abominations. So an end is come upon the four corners of the land. Right? Let's go to Second Ezra 16:1. So if you're watching, when there's so much going on, right? If you're watching, you're seeing what's going on in Iran. Right? Let me just type this in. Let's type in Iran protests. Right? Iran protests. Now, there's a lot going on that we want to talk about tonight through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bahashmi Awashah. You have major protests going on. They're saying people are getting shot in the head. Kids are getting shot. Buildings are getting burnt down. I mean, the numbers are fluctuating concerning the death toll. Some sites are saying, 24,000. Some are saying 24. Some are saying 600 people are dead. All we know is people are dying. Now, what's going on, to keep brothers in the loop, is that these protests, this was going on a surface level. There are protests in Iran to overthrow the Islamic regime, right? Iran is a republic backed on a so-called religion of Islam, which in the eyes of the West and in the eyes of the mind of the average citizen is a dictatorship, right? That's the word they throw. It's a dictatorship, totalitarian government. There's no peace, there's no liberty, there's no freedom to do what you want to do. So from the outside looking in, there are protests to overthrow that government regime and set up a new government regime where the people can now be free. But when you really unravel what's really going on is from a spiritual level. We always have to address this from a spiritual level before you take it to a geopolitical level. From a spiritual level, there are spirits and demons that are working in that region. Yes, there are actual demons. Now, that's not going to be on CNN. That's not going to be on the New York Times, on BBC. See, if we were boots on the ground, we would bring out the actual spiritual matter concerning why these events are taking place. And we're going to transcend and go beyond just the fact of them overthrowing a regime. And then we're going to take it further and say, well, hold on. These protests are really psychological operations headed by the Mossad, which is the intelligence agency of the state of Israel, and the CIA, to overthrow the modern day regime in Iran, to set up a puppet king that can get them the oil in Iran that they've always wanted. So these are spiritual matters that are going on, right? These are there are actual angels and spirits in that region. See, the Most High has a term called a principality, right? There are things called principalities, right? Which are particular regions that are operated by a high level of demonic or angelic activity, okay? And the Middle East is one of those regions that is operated by a high level of spiritual activity. This is Ephesians chapter 6 and 12. Because we're a spiritual people, and we acknowledge that the work is being done by God, right? So we have to break it down from a godly perspective. Ephesians 6 and 12. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. So every conflict, rather it's global, internal, it's a civil war, it's, any conflict, it's spiritual. Even if you got into a physical fight with another man, that's spiritual, because there are demons on that individual and there are demons on us. And you may get into a fight with that brother, but those are spirits. James said that, from whence cometh wars and fightings amongst you? Come they not thence of even of your lust that war in your members? So there are spirits that are in that region working on those people to make them do the will of the Most High. Let's go to Revelation 9 real quick, right? This is Revelation chapter 9 and verse number 13. And the sixth angel sounded, and they heard a voice from the four horns of the golden altar, which is before God, saying to the sixth angel which had the trumpet, loose the four angels which are bound in the great river Euphrates. This is literal. There's an actual river. I'm sure you brothers know. There are brothers that may not know. There's an actual river called the Euphrates River that runs through Iran, or Iraq rather, through that region, Mesopotamia. And that river floods and it abounds. But in that river are angels that are bound up, right? Let me pull up the Euphrates River on the map. And I'm going to go back to this. Like I said, we got a lot we're going to get into, right? It's no rush, right? We got a lot we're going to get into through the spirit and power of Yahweh Ba'ashmi Yahushua. So this is the actual river Euphrates on the map. You can look it up on the map, and it runs through Iraq. Okay? Now, in that river, as you see on the screen, are bound up particular spirits. Why are they bound up? Because the Most High wanted to bound them up. Because their strength and power was to be reserved for a set time. They were programmed and given strict instruction by their creator to rest and be bound until a set time. And those spirits on those angels and other spirits are infiltrating the people in that region. That's why there's always bloodshed. There's always war. There's always conflict. And there's always that famous saying, will there ever be peace in the Middle East? It will never be peace in the Middle East until Yahushua returns. And why won't there be peace? Because there are spirits out there. Demons. Right? Let me get that in Ecclesiastes 9. I mean, it's like a 39, right? 28. This Ecclesiasticus chapter 39 and verse 28. There be spirits that are created for vengeance, which in their fury lay on sore strokes. In the time of destruction, they pour out their force and appease the wrath of him that made them. So when you're looking at Netanyahu, you're looking at Donald Trump, you're looking at Putin, you're looking at these world leaders. They have actual spirits that have infiltrated their vessel, that are causing them to fulfill the will of God, because these nations have transgressed the laws, broken the ordinances, and have oppressed the children of God, have blasphemed the creator of heaven and earth, and have done everything contrary to the laws and the statutes and the commandments. Therefore, they are being judged. To the outside looking in, you may not see it that way. But when you have a spiritual mind, you begin to see that these are just pawns on the creator's chessboard. And as he moves them to kill and destroy one another, that's his vengeance. There's no winner. Iran is not a winner. America's not a winner. Russia's not a winner. China's not a winner. There's no winners in this thing amongst the children of men. They're all set up to destroy one another. Right? Verse number 29. Fire and hell, famine and death, all these were created for vengeance. Vengeance is payback. Retribution. The Most High says, sing, it is a righteous thing with the Most High. In 2 Thessalonians 1 and 7. It's a righteous thing with the Most High to render vengeance unto them that trouble you, paraphrasing. So all them gunshots, you see the fires going on in Iran, you see the looting going on, you see the murders going on, you see the CIA and Mossad giving these people Israeli weapons and different military tactics to take down and have a coup. These things are done by the Most High. See, we have to look at this as the judgment of God. This is beyond a geopolitical event. This is bigger than Trump. Give credit to the Most High. This is bigger than Netanyahu. Give glory to Yahweh Ba'ashmi Yahushua. It's for his name to be magnified. He's stirring up the pot. Let me get one more. We're breaking it down layer by layer, right? Isaiah the 30th chapter. See, we're going to do what CNN, Fox News, MSNBC, CBS, we're going to do what they're not going to do. We're going to tell the truth. We're the true reporters of the events going on the earth. See, they wouldn't hire us, man. Live on the scene. And we have prophecies. If we was live on the scene, we'd bringing out precepts. It'd be angels around. We'll see a missile going. Give me Revelation, the 9th chapter, right? You see somebody running, getting thrust through with the sword. Give me the book of Psalms, 78 and 49. That's an evil angel, right? It'd be live and direct, man. The earth will open up and give me Numbers, the 16th chapter. We have a microphone, a camera set, and we be out there doing the thing. You know? This Isaiah chapter 30 and verse number 27. Behold, the name of the Lord cometh from far, burning with his anger, and the burden thereof is heavy. His lips are full of indignation, and his tongue as a devouring fire. This is the coming judgment of Yahweh Ba'ashmi Yahushua, right? When he returns. Verse 28. And his breath as an overflowing stream shall reach to the midst of the neck, to sift the nations with the sieve of vanity. Here's the point. And there should be a bridle in the jaws of the people, causing them to err. There's a bridle in the jaws of the people. A bridle is what you put on a horse to make him go in the way that you want him to go. He may say, I'm done work, or I want to get some water. I want to go to the feeding trough. I want to do that. You take that bridle with the straps and you pull him, say, no, we going this way. It's not up to him. You are in control. So all these kings, they have a spiritual bridle in their jaw, and the Most High is dragging them into a global catastrophe, and it's going to cause them to err. Everybody's in error right now, but everybody from their own foreign policy, from a foreign policy geopolitical standpoint, they believe that they're doing the right thing for their citizens, for their economy, and for their future as a country, failing to realize that everything that they think they're doing is right, they're really in the spirit of error. They're off, they're wrong. It's contrary to the scriptures. That's why they're infested by demons, being fulfilled to do the will of God. Right, let's go to 2nd Ezra, chapter 15 and verse 20. Right, 2nd Ezra, chapter 15 and verse number 20. It reads, Behold, said the Most High, I will call together all the kings of the earth to reverence me, which are from the rising of the sun, from the south, from the east, and Lebanon, to turn themselves one against another and repay the things that they have done to them. So surely you get it now. Most High willing, now there's some clarity that the Lord, he has the bridle in their jaws. He's calling together all the kings of the earth. He's calling the king of Syria. He's calling so-called Trump. He's calling so-called Putin. He's calling Kim Jong-un. He's calling, what's his guy, in England. I can't think of his name right now, right? But he's calling that guy, man. Why? so they could turn themselves one against another, so they could kill one another and repay the things that they have done to them. Who's to them? The Israelites. So that's beautiful, man. Imagine all 7 of your enemies who all they did was kill you. The Most High put a demon in them that kill one another, and we have the luxury to just sit back and watch. You got brothers scared. Well, what do I do? I don't know what's going on. Brother, just sit back. Get your popcorn, brother. Kettle corn. If you like kettle corn, hey, do your kettle corn. You like the butter, hey, do your butter. If you're not a popcorn guy, you like the nachos, hey, you get your nachos, man. Right? If you drink a glass of wine, get your glass of wine. Sit back, man. First and foremost, repent, right? And keep these commandments and believe in Yahawashi. Put your hand to the plow. Hey, but when it's all said and done, when these events are going on, we're sitting back and we watching, man. Right? We're just watching. Oh, damn, like a fight, you know? Like they had Esau would have 2 Jakes fight for sport. The Mandingos, they show you that in the movie Django. Right? They'll sit back and drink some tequila, you know, light the fireplace, and they'll get off on them Jakes fighting to finish him and, you know, finish the job. That's how we are on this day. We sitting back in front of the fire, which is the word of the Most High, and we just watching the nations destroy one another, ripping their arm off. That's the blessing that the Most High gave us. That is the blessing of Yahweh Ba'ashmi Yahushua. So let's kind of dive into it. So again, we broke it down on the spiritual level. On the spiritual level, what you see going on is Yahweh Ba'ashmi Yahushua, the creator of heaven and earth, the God of our fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, sending forth spirits and forces from the third heaven to work on the kings of these different nations, so that they may destroy one another due to the sins that they have done and the blasphemies that they have done to Yahweh, Yahushai, and the Israelites. On another level, these protests going on in Iran is happening because Esau is involved, right? Esau is involved. Believe it or not, and they're not going to tell you this, that these, let me click, let's see this. They're not going to tell you that Mossad, CIA, you know, other elite government parties are infiltrating and we got clips too. We got a lot of footage of even people saying that the people there are Edomites with masks on, and they're trained. They have Israeli weapons. Now, normal protests, you'll see somebody with sticks, a club, pitchfork, torch, you know, a mazel tov. If they're getting fancy, stones. But to have, you know, elite riflemen shoot Iranian soldiers in the head between the eyes, but masking themselves as protesters, they're beginning to find out that this is an inside job to destroy Iran from within, so they can say, well, hold on, they're down there rioting, we're going to come and fix the problem. And that's an old tactic Esau's always done. So they can go in and say we're going to destroy them and we're going to restore democracy, but they're the ones that started it. So that's what's happening. So I'm going to read a little of this. I'm not going to read the whole thing. This is from CBS News. And if you don't like CBS, you can find this same information on other sites and other sources. Over 12,000 feared dead after Iran protests as video shows bodies lined up at morgue. Now that's from January 13th, 7:31 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. They sent over 12,000, and 12,000, that is a spiritual number. Now, This site says 12,000. Other sites say 50,000. Some are saying 70,000. Only the Most High know, right? Information trickling out of Iran on Tuesday suggests that a crackdown by authorities to end more than 2 weeks of widespread anti-government protests has likely been far more deadly than activists outside the country have reported, with phone lines opening back up for calls inside the Islamic Republic, right? Because they shut down all phone lines. That's how you know Esau had their hand in the game. Because the average Iranian, they don't have the wherewithal to shut down cellular service and internet service of the entire country. They don't have that. They don't have the resources, the understanding, and the wherewithal and power to do such a massive feat. It takes a major power to do that. But these intelligence organizations, as we're finding out when they went to even Venezuela, they have sonic damn technology, man, that makes you throw up. This one guy said he felt like his head was about to explode from the inside out. And they was defecating on themselves, man. You know? So these devils have technology, and they work with demons on the left-hand side to get this technology to overthrow kingdoms. So when the internet was completely shut down in Iran, that wasn't done by the average Iranian. That's the hand of the Mossad and the CIA. For brothers that don't know, right, let's pull that up. The Mossad is Israel's national intelligence agency, responsible for foreign intelligence, covert operations. A covert operation, based off of what we're talking about, is pretending that you're an Iranian civilian disgruntled at government policy, but really you're an Iranian who infiltrated, trained other Iranians, put propaganda up there, stirred up confusion to cause a riot to overthrow the kingdom. That's covert operation. And counterterrorism, working to protect Israel's security by gathering intel, conducting special missions, and running clandestine, that's secretive, running clandestine operations against adversaries, answering directly to the prime minister. See that? So that they're a clandestine, secretive organization, and they are the answer to America's CIA. Okay? So a lot of what you see going on in Israel is from the Mossad, right? Which is a very, very wicked, corrupt, demonic organization, right? It's worse than a CIA, right? It's worse than a CIA. So let's go back to this article. Okay. It says with phone lines opening back up from calls, it's like it for calls from inside the Islamic Republic, 2 sources, including one inside Iran, told CBS News on Tuesday that at least 12,000 and possibly as many as 20,000 people have been killed. You see that? Average that out, that's about 16,000 or so. People are killed. That's a lot of people. Now they're saying a lot of these deaths were done again by non-Iranians. By non-Iranians. Now I got this clip right here I want to show. Now this is from a former CIA agent, John Kiriakou. And I'm going to play a little of this clip right here. And a lot of, these are old tactics of the beast. Subversion, clandestine operations, covert tactics, secrecy, propaganda to overthrow countries. Iran is one of the last strongholds in the Middle East who refuses to conform to American foreign policy. They're not like Saudi Arabia or the United Arab Emirates or other countries who have bowed down to the beast. Syria wasn't going to bow down to the beast. Look what they did to Syria. They overthrew Syria. This just happened. And set up their own king. Venezuela wasn't bowing down. Maduro was saying, hey, they not even the real Jews over there. What'd they do with him? Allegedly grabbed him up out of his sleep, and kidnapped him. So if you don't get down with this system and conform to the so-called white man, they're going to find a way to overthrow you. All right, let me get this precept and I'm going to play that clip. Let's go to Habakkuk 2:15. This is Habakkuk chapter 2, or some brothers say Habakkuk. All right, Habakkuk chapter 2:15. Woe unto him that giveth his neighbor drink, that putteth thy bottle to him, and makest him drunken also, that thou mayest look on their nakedness. So this is speaking about how the so-called white man, he forces his foreign policy and forces his ideologies of homosexuality, pedophilia, hedonism, right, which is the love of pleasure, lewdness, and financial oppression on you. That's his wine, his philosophies. He doesn't ask you, do you want any to drink? He put the bottle to you and make you drink. And he does that by overthrowing your kingdom. He does that through propaganda, by demonizing people who don't conform, and he'll call them these terms a dictator. What are other terms they throw out there? You're a dictator. This is a totalitarian government. You know, he has weapons of mass destruction. What they say for Venezuela, he's the cartel. I haven't seen any drugs get confiscated. Well, okay, where's all of the drugs at? They went into Venezuela because of the cartel. Where's all of the drugs at? Where's all of the cocaine? Where's all of the dope? Where is that? Because I haven't seen boatloads. Now, JP Morgan, he got caught with boatloads of cocaine maybe a decade ago. I ain't hear nothing happen to him. Where was the war on JP Morgan? Let me pull that up. Hey, this guy had all types of cocaine on him, man. On his boat. Let me see if I can get drug boat. This was years ago. A cargo ship owned by JP Morgan had $1.3 billion of cocaine. There was no war on that. 1.3, that's not no average Negro. They ain't a Negro move. A Negro ain't moving that kind of weight. He's not moving $1.3 billion. He's not. That's not no gang, a Northern Kingdom gang. That's white. That's Esau. That's a white man move, man. Jake don't even do cocaine like that, man. You know? Esau, these elites, man, who be playing with their nose, the sugar booger, riding a white horse they can't get off, man. They are moving $1.3 billion of cocaine. But there was no, oh my God, well, we got to stop JP Morgan. Let's kind of look into him, you know? So these devils are hypocrites. That's the point. That's the point. So they'll have these tactics against you and make you get down. That's them putting a bottle to them, and they make you drunk. How do they make the people drunk? Because once they put the bottle to you, now you have to accept their philosophies. Next thing you know, your country has a Walmart in it, a McDonald's, a gay bar, a Home Depot, a AMC movie theater, you know, a damn FedEx, a UPS. Now everybody's drunk. Your women who were once modest, now they wear pants. Your men are now homosexuals. Your children want to be rap stars. Everybody's drunk. And Esau do that because he want to look at your nakedness. Oh, literally, yes, he does. But this is talking about your spiritual nakedness. He wants you to be stripped of any moral compass. And he wants to look at you as a base man. He wants to see you in your sinful estate, man. Verse number 16. Here's the point. Thou art, this Habakkuk 2:16. Thou art filled with shame for glory. Drink thou also, and let thy foreskin be uncovered. The cup of the Lord's right hand shall be turned unto thee, and shameful spewing shall be on thy glory. And the Lord said, wherewithal a man sinneth, the same shall he be punished. So you sinned by wine and by putting a bottle to people. The Most High going to put the cup to you. You're going to drink now. You're going to drink of judgment. You're going to drink of judgment. The Most High is going to stir up nations and his people and the earth against you. And now you're going to be exposed. You're going to be so exposed that every secret plot, every secret agenda, every secret organization, every secret motive, it's all going to be exposed. That's what this means. And let thy foreskin be uncovered. Imagine that. An uncircumcised individual and somebody just peels back their foreskin. That's some heavy exposing. This is graphic. So their foreskin being uncovered is why we're able to understand these different CIA, Mossad organizations who have always done these things since the 1930s, 1940s, who overthrow regimes and empires and kingdoms to set up puppet kings that want to accept the dollar in American foreign policy. We're only knowing this because of the prophecy of their foreskin being uncovered and their motives and tactics being exposed, right? And the Most High said that the cup of the Lord's right hand shall be turned unto thee, and shameful spewing shall be on thy glory. Imagine that. You had this beautiful garment on, right? And somebody came and just threw damn tomato sauce on it, ketchup. It ruins your whole garment. So Esau likes to deck themselves out as pure, holy, the police of the earth, the savior of the human race, the protector of mankind, the leader of the free world. That's their garment. But the Most High, he's ruining that garment through the precepts, through the prophecies, right? Through current events, through the information. And everybody is beginning to see who this devil really is. Everybody's beginning to see it. Let's go to Nahum, the third chapter. This is another beautiful chapter, beautiful chapters. Nahum chapter 3 and verse number 5. Behold, I am against thee, saith the Lord of hosts, and I will discover thy skirts upon thy face, and I will show the nations thy nakedness and the kingdoms thy shame. And we're beginning to see this. Now, this is not new information. Everybody in these last days is beginning to understand, but now you have the Most High, he's exposing them so much, like the previous precept about their foreskin being uncovered. He's using former CIA agents, former government informants, and they're publicly, without the fear of retaliation, the fear of death, they're speaking about the tactics of the American military and what they really about and why they really going to lands. That's the Most High discovering nice skirts. A skirt is supposed to protect a woman's a private area. Something that she's supposed to her is supposed to be a chief price. Her virginity, her chastity. You know? When somebody discover your skirts, they expose you. All of your innocence goes out the window. All of your purity is defiled. and you are exposed, and everybody gets to see your nakedness. Why do you think Iran is leaving? I mean, Russia, China, Brazil, India, China, South Africa, Venezuela, Colombia, Iran, Mexico, most of the northern African countries, Egypt, Syria, Ethiopia, Libya. Why do you think they're all leaving America? Why is everybody de-dollarizing? Why is silver and gold skyrocketing? Why is America being hated by all nations? Because everybody's beginning to see who this devil really is through the internet, first and foremost through his servants, the prophets, through whistleblowers, through intel. Everybody's seeing the shame of this devil. So nobody believes that Iran is overthrowing their own kingdom. Nobody believes that. Yeah, you may have a scattered one guy here, 10 guys here, maybe 20 guys here, but based off of what we're observing, shut the whole internet down, shutting all cell phone service down, there are testimonies of people getting shot right between the eyes by a protester with an Israeli weapon, with military gear. Everybody's knowing that, hold on, this is a coup that is backed up by the CIA and the Mossad. This is not something that the Iranians have done because they are displeased. Everybody's seeing the shame of this beast. Now, here's what the Most High is going to do. Verse 6, Nahum 3 and 6. And I will cast abominable filth upon thee and make thee vile and will set thee as a gazing stock. You will be set as a gazing stock, and abominable filth is being thrown on you, right? Because remember, America at one time, let me get one more. We're going to dive right back into this article. How does America glorify themselves? Right? Let's find out. See, the Most High said he's going to cast abominable filth upon thee. Shameful spewing is going to be on your glory. Here's what their glory is. In Revelation chapter 17, we're going to read verse number 4. Here's what their glory is. Here's the precept. Revelation chapter 17 and 4. And the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet color, and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls, having a golden cup. It's like you having a golden cup in her hand, full of abominations and filthiness of her fornication. So her garment is all of the riches and the wealth and the merchandise that she has stole. These are gold and scarlet and purple. These are natural resources or made from natural elements and natural organisms. That's how you make purple and scarlet. Right? You get it from creatures. You know, the spiny murex, and you take the animal, and there's a whole process. Gold and precious stones and pearls. That's her covering. That's what she arrays herself in. And her riches and her wealth that she stole from the other nations. And all of that is now being revealed and being exposed. Right? And everybody's beginning to see all of the purple you have. The purple is America's GDP. Okay? Purple is a royal color. Only kings wore it. Scarlet is America's economy. On another hand, their imports, their exports, their wealth, their military might. All of this is the covering of America. And everybody's beginning to see who they really are. Now I'm going to play this clip about this former CIA agent. Right? I may play the whole thing. I may not. Right? Let's see. Let's play this through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashmi Awashah. Now, former CIA agent John Kirikow drops a bombshell. Many human rights organizations reporting on Iran are funded by Israel/CIA. Israeli-backed protesters in Iran are inciting violence, including burning fire engines. The narrative is one-sided, favoring Israeli interests. Now, you brothers know good and well why, or even how how the narrative is one-sided. The narrative is told by the media. Who owns CBS? I mean, we don't. MSNBC, ABC, Fox News, BBC, MSNBC. Who owns these things? The so-called Jew. So that's why it favors Israeli interest, right? But this guy's a former CIA agent, and let's see what he has to say regarding the matter.
Wall Street Journal, I looked at them all last night. Times, CNN, the Wall Street Journal, Times, CNN, the Wall Street Journal, I looked at them all last night.
It's fair use, fair use. And he said he's looking at them all.
And they're all saying, oh my God, it's murder in the streets in Iran. Oh my God, this human rights organization is saying, 172 dead. Okay, that human rights organization is based in London, and it's funded by the Israelis and Iranians in exile. And then, oh my God, there's this other human rights organization that's saying 500 dead. Yeah, that one's in Washington, and they take money from the CIA. So you can't.
So there's no reliable information.
There's no reliable information. Now, are people being killed in Iran? Absolutely.
Now, are these guys Israelites? Right? Are they the men? Are they the true men of the of the Most High? No. But the Most High, He'll speak through a heathen. But they can't be saved, right? Well, can they be saved? Does that mean they can make it? No, they can't make it. But the Most High speaketh once, yea, twice, yet man perceiveth it not. The Most High spoke to Baalim through an ass. Even Pharaoh, Necho told Josiah, he said, the Lord is with me. When he was battling the king of Babylon, he said, forbear thee from meddling with God who is with me. So the Most High will use the heathen to put this information out there. No, they can't make it though. They're not going to be in the chariot. They're not going to make it. In case one of you brothers you were scratching your head, you started to scratch, right? Let that itch go.
From the CIA. So you can't.
So there's no reliable information.
There's no reliable information. Now, are people being killed in Iran? Absolutely, yes. But think of this too. Do we know that these people aren't being killed by Israeli-backed protesters? Because the Israelis have been bragging over the weekend that they're the ones backing the protesters. And I'll add another thing that literally no one is reporting. Protesters set on fire 48 fire engines in Tehran. 48 fire engines so that they cannot respond to fires. Why?
That's very organized. And that takes a lot of skill and a lot of recon to take out 48 fire engines. So they ain't just no average camel driving Iranian. That's Edomite tacticians. That's some ancient Roman warfare.
Because it's the Israeli-backed protesters setting shit on fire. And this is just to make it worse.
Now, the thing is, okay, so for people who are listening and are thinking, okay, John's being conspiratorial and blah, blah, blah. Let's not forget that we know that Iran is riddled with people on the Mossad payroll because of the fact that they provided the targeting information for the Israeli-U.S. military attacks against atomic scientists and
right. Remember they had, for brothers that remember not too long ago, they had Operation Midnight Hammer. Remember they had Operation Midnight Hammer. This was this was months ago. I can't remember if you brothers know the exact time where the American military operated Operation Midnight Hammer and they targeted Israeli nuclear sites. And Israel kind of told them, here's where you can hit. Don't hit this place. America said, okay, I agree. I'll only hit this spot. I won't hit that spot. So a lot of these people, this is an elite globalist agenda, but it's orchestrated by the so-called Jew.
Israeli U.S. military attacks against atomic scientists and
Go back a little.
U.S. military attacks against atomic scientists and military sites in Iran recently, right? We know that. We talked about here on the show before any of these protests started about how Iran has a serious Israel problem in terms of infiltration. So I just want to, provide a little context there.
Yeah, I think my point here is to remind everybody that there are two sides to a story.
Right.
And we're only getting the Israeli side.
Right.
The Israelis are backing Reza Pahlavi. The Israelis are backing these so-called human rights organizations. The Israelis are the ones demanding that U.S. policy be that Iran doesn't have any missiles. So we just have to be very careful.
And again, this is a former CIA agent. Now, I don't know what's going to happen to this guy. Is he just risking his life? He knows he's not, they didn't get this guy from Subway, or he wasn't flipping burgers. He's an actual former CIA agent, and he's kind of letting you know what's going on. Now, let me get this through the Spirit. I want to get something else through the Spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yahushua. Right? So this is straight out of the devil's mouth, man. This is straight out of the devil's mouth. And the Most High, he will put the Spirit. See, the Most High can put the Spirit on anybody. Right? Let me get this quick precept in John, the 11th chapter. Let me get one quick precept. Then I want to get one about these riots. This is John chapter 11 and verse 47. Then gathered the chief priests and the Pharisees a council and said, what do we? For this man doeth many miracles. If we let him thus alone, all men will believe on him. And the Romans shall come and take away both our place and nation. This is concerning Yahushua resurrecting Lazarus. And they were so wicked, instead of glorifying Yahweh Shem Yahushua for the rising again of Lazarus, they sought to kill Yahushua for giving life, right? Now, verse 49, and one of them named Caiaphas, being high priest that same year, said unto them, ye know nothing at all, nor consider that it is expedient for us that one man should die for the people, and that the whole nation perish not. And this spake he not of himself. That's the part I wanted. And this spake he not of himself, but being high priest that year, he prophesied that Yahushua should die for that nation, and not for that nation only, but that also he should gather together in one the children of God that are scattered abroad. Then from that day forth, they took counsel together for to put him to death. So even your enemies, the Most High could put the Spirit in them to speak words of truth for our edification, not for their salvation, but for our edification, right? That's what these devils put together, thesaurus and atlases and concordances. That's for us. Certain commentaries and, different books. They put that together for the men of the Lord. Because we're in captivity. The Most High put spirits in them to do archaeological findings and to pull out artifacts to validate the Bible, and that's for us to dive into the manuscripts. We can't do that. We were in chattel slavery. We're in captivity. So the Most High will do that, man. Right? Let me get this precept about stirring up these cities, because that's nothing new. Right? It's nothing new about infiltrating and overthrowing cities. This Acts chapter 17 and verse number 4. Okay. And we're going to see how this ties into what happened in Iran decades ago. Okay. How this is relevant to the history of Iran. These, maybe two verses right here. Acts 17 and 4. And some of them believed and consorted with Paul and Silas, and of the devout Greeks a great multitude, and of the chief women not a few. So this was Paul who was prophesying, and a lot of Israelites who were living like the heathen, they began to believe, right? They began to believe and come back to the Most High. Now, let's read the next verse. But the Jews which believed not moved with envy and took unto them certain lewd fellows of the baser sort, and gathered a company and set all the city on an uproar, and assaulted the house of Jason, and sought to bring them out to the people. So this was a similar to what was going on in Israel now. Back then, these Jews hired certain lewd fellows of the baser sort. Those are like your village drunkards, ex-murderers, ex-convicts, ex-thieves, ex-extortionists and liars, and paid them off to infiltrate the city and set the city on an uproar. That's what the so-called Jew does, man. They take certain lewd fellows of the baser sort to set their purpose is for subversion and to cause confusion. And they've done this tactic in Acts 17. That's what's being done in Iran. That's what was being done in Venezuela, right? That was done in Panama. That was done in Syria. I mean, it was done in Iraq, rather. They always infiltrate, train the citizens, give them weapons, stir up propaganda, cause confusion, and they will set a city on an uproar. And then half of the people that's in the uproar, they don't even know what's going on. They just get caught up in the spirit. And them demons of confusion hop on them. So their purpose was not just to go out and assassinate Paul and Silas. Their purpose was to set the city on an uproar, to cause commotion. And then they assaulted the house of Jason and brought them out to the people. In Acts the 19th chapter, it says there was so much confusion that the people didn't even know why they were there. So that's an old tactic. What them so-called CIA operatives are doing, Jake was doing that. Evil Jake was doing that. Way back when. The Lord said that we taught the wicked one our ways. Let me get this quick precept in Acts 19 when it says they didn't even know why they were there. Right? This Acts 19 and verse 28. And when they heard these sayings, they were full of wrath and cried out, saying, "Great is Diana of the Ephesians." Right? So Paul was out there teaching the Jews in Ephesus. They burned their books. They was cutting into their money. They stopped buying idols. The silversmith and those businesses, they started losing money, and they started getting mad about it because people weren't buying their idols anymore. Right? So they began to cry out. At least demons hopped on them, and they got hot and said, "Great is Diana of the Ephesians." This is a uproar. And the whole city was filled with confusion. And having caught Gaius and Aristarchus, men of Macedonia, Paul's companions in travel, they rushed with one accord into the theater. This is a major protest. But it was done by design. They set the whole city on confusion. And when Paul would have entered in unto the people, the disciples suffered him not. So they said, "You can't go in there. There's too much chaos going on." Right? Don't go in there and try to calm them down. You're going to get killed. That's how serious this was. And certain of the chief of Asia, which were his friends, sent unto him, desiring that he would not adventure himself into the theater. Here's the point. Some therefore cried one thing, and some another, for the assembly was confused, and the more part knew not wherefore they were come together. They didn't even know what was going on. The city was full of confusion. It was backed up. It was done by design. Like Acts the 17th chapter. You had some people there that was there to kill Paul, and some people was just there to burn stuff down. Half of the people didn't know what was going on. It was just massive confusion. But it was done through design. It was done intentionally. They planned to set the whole city on an uproar. So that's an old tactic. It's an old tactic to stir up confusion, right? And stir up strife. That's what Korah, Dathan, and Abiram did. Sowing discord. Let me get that in Proverbs 6. That's called sowing discord. America and the CIA, the Mossad, they are known, they are masters. The serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field which the Lord God had made. They are known for sowing discord. You know, they do that to each other. In Daniel, the 11th chapter, the Most High said that they would speak peace at the table, but they would deal deceitfully concerning the house or the family of the Ptolemies and the family of the Seleucids. Those are two Edomites. Proverbs chapter 6 and 16. These 6 things doth the Lord hate, yea, 7 are an abomination unto him: a proud look, a lying tongue, and hands that shed innocent blood. This is all Esau. This Edomite, right? Netanyahu came out and said that one Israeli life is worth 4 American lives. And you still got these idiotic Americans that still support them. He said, one of our lives is worth 4 of your lives. That's proud as hell. They got a lying tongue through the media, and they shed innocent blood. And heart that devises wicked imaginations, like taking over the whole so-called Middle East for the greater Israel agenda. Feet that be swift and run into mischief. A false witness that speaketh lies, and he that soweth discord among brethren. So discord is confusion, right? And you sow means you plant seeds, right? You don't just have fruit. You have to sow discord, right? That's why you whisper this to this brother. Then you whisper this to this nation. Then you put a website up. If anybody's displeased, sign up here. We're going to get weapons over here. Then you get people guns. Then you bring your own people in. And you start sowing discord and paying people off to people are fed up, and you overthrow a whole kingdom. Right? So they are masters of sowing discord. Now, this is what the Serbian president said. The Lord said, out of the mouth of 2 witnesses shall the matter be established. And the matter of this protest and what's going on in Iran is really done by the hand of Esau, is being confirmed by multiple high-ranking worldly men, right? One was a former CIA agent, and the other one is the Serbian president. He's an actual leader of an entire country. Here's what he said. I'm not going to read the whole thing. Serbian president accuses Mossad and CIA of fueling Iran protests. You know, and the Americans are the most ignorant class or citizens on the earth right now. I mean, just on every level. They are completely idiotic. They have no idea what's going on. You got these Edomites, they're majoring in. Some of these majors in college are absolute foolishness now. They're majoring in damn. I mean, some of this stuff, you can look it up, man. Waffle making, you know. You're majoring in damn the study of McDonald's. These are actual majors. They don't know their right hand from their left hand. They can't point out Serbia on the map. They don't know what CIA stands for. They really just see everything on the TV and they accept it. Education in America is bottom in the world. All these other nations, they know what's going on. They know what the deal is. Iran faces its biggest challenge since 1979, with protests killing at least 2,500 since late December 2025 over a crumbling economy battered by U.S. sanctions, inflation, and currency woes, now escalating to calls for regime change against Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei, right? Vucic urged reading about Operation Ajax, right? And we're going to touch on this. Operation Ajax. The 1953 CIA MI6 is your British version of the CIA, coup that ousted Prime Minister Mohammed Mossadegh after oil nationalization, because he wanted to bring all of the oil under the Iranian government. He said, "This is our oil, it's our land, and you so-called white man, you can, you know what, man, you could, how they say, FAFO, if you come in and you want to touch this oil, right? You want this smoke, man, it's our oil." You know what Esau said? They said, "Britain, you see this?" Britain said, yeah, America, I see this. You know what we should do? Should we fight them head on? No, we'll lose, right? We'll lose. What we should do is sow discord and cause confusion and overthrow that kingdom and set up a king that wants to give us the oil. That oil, we want that. They can't have their own oil. So they, again, planned subversion, right? They planned subversion. So it reads, Operation Ajax, the 1953 CIA MI6 coup that ousted Prime Minister Mohammed Mossadegh after oil nationalization. Same thing in Venezuela. You just saw this. Saying foreign agencies follow the same tactics today through bribes, riots, and propaganda. Those are your PSYOPs, psychological operations. Rights groups call the unrest organic from economic despair, while Iranian officials arrest alleged agents and the U.S. warns of action amid rising tension. So even they know, the Serbian president, right? Even he knows. He knows what's going on. And he's an Edomite. Everybody knows what's going on except Jake. Now, I believe I touched on this. All right, now we're going to play this quick clip right here. Here's another quick clip. All right, let's play this one. Now, here's another one. Like I said, we got a lot we want to get into through the spirit and power of Yahweh Basham Yahushua. Right? This is subversion and sowing discord. Okay, now this is Professor Jeffrey Sachs explaining how in 1953, the United States and Britain overthrew Iran's democratically elected Prime Minister Mossadegh because he wanted Iran to control its own oil. And that's what you see going on right now, man. I mean, let's just cut to it. Let's not beat around the bush. Let's stop playing games. Everything that's going to lead to World War III on a very carnal level is about Esau harvesting the natural elements and resources out of the earth. That's one of the factors, to say the least. To have complete control over all gold, over all of the people. He wants to track everything you got. He wants to digitalize everything to track you, and he wants to control all of the earth's minerals and resources. So everybody's going to be controlled by the beast. From a digital system to your finances, to where you could work at, right? To how much you could have. Even a World Economic Forum, this was maybe a few years ago, they said you will own nothing and you will be happy. They said that. What do you think the Club of Rome is about? These different summits. It's about complete domination on the earth. And America and these elites had a plan to cut down. There were 7 countries they said that they would cut down. One of them was Egypt, I believe Egypt, Syria, Sudan, Libya, Iran, Iraq, and I believe Afghanistan. And they took down Syria. They killed Gaddafi and took down Libya. They got Sudan. They took down Egypt. Now Iran is one of the last strongholds. Because they already pimped out Saudi Arabia. They give Saudi Arabia military equipment, you know, weapons. Jordan is a whore for America, the country of Jordan. Outright whoring, lusting. United Arab Emirates, all of them, most of the Middle East countries, they in bed with America. Iran ain't getting in the bed. So this whole thing is about subversion and destruction. So let's play this. I'm rambling a little bit, but let's play this, right?
Iran had a functioning democratic government in 1953, led by Prime Minister Mossadegh. Mossadegh's idea Iran had a functioning democratic government in 1953, led by Prime Minister Mossadegh. Mossadegh's idea in 1953 was that the oil that was under the ground actually belonged to the Iranians, where the British knew that it belonged to the British. So when the Iranian prime minister, democratically elected, said, "This is our oil, it's under our ground," the British government knew that it had to overthrow him. And it connected with the US government, and they made a secret operation to overthrow Mossadegh and to install the Shah of Iran and to make a police state under US control. If you add up all such regime change operations by the United States between 1945 and 1989, at the end of the Cold War, 64 covert regime change operations by the United States, mostly CIA-led. Iran had a functioning democratic government in 1953, led
64 covert regime change operations led by the CIA. Right? Led by the CIA. Let me fast forward a little bit and play that.
Acted with the US government, and they made a secret operation to
Operation Ajax.
To overthrow Mossadegh and to install the Shah of Iran and to make a police state under US control. If you add up all such regime change operations by the United States between 1945 and 1989, at the end of the Cold War, 64 covert regime change operations by the United States.
By the United States. Let's get a precept. Because everything that we're going into obviously is backed up by the Bible, right? It's backed up by the precepts. It's backed up by the word of the Most High. Let's go to Revelation, the 17th chapter, right? So now, if anybody was wondering, well, what's going on in Iran? I'm not sure what's happening. We're breaking it down on a spiritual level, prophetic level. We're also breaking it down on a geopolitical level, right? A geopolitical level. This is Revelation chapter 17, and I'm going to start at let's start at 1. Then I'm going to jump down. Revelation 17 and 1. And there came one of the 7 angels, which had the 7 vials, and talked with me, saying unto me, Come hither, I will show unto thee the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters, with whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication. And the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication. And again, her wine is her philosophies, her foreign policy. So she begins to make your country drunk by overthrowing your leader and your so-called code of ethics and morals. And she'll replace that with sinful, lustful, homosexual, liberal ways of confusion. And you begin to lose. You go through an identity crisis, right? And you go through a phase where you think that the American way is the way of life, but you are drunk. I mean, surely we know that we're drunk. We've been over here and we are finished. When I say we, talking about the so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native American man, woman, and child. Our people are finished. They are the most drunk, the drunkest of the drunk. But all these other nations, they're drunk too, right? They are drunk. Let's jump down to verse 15. And that's the job, because America, they can't just go in there and dethrone your leader. We read their tactics: subversion, propaganda, riots, misinformation. Here they are talking about misinformation, how they want to crack down on hate speech, and they are the masters of that. They are the masters of misinformation, double talk, and confusion. So they have to cause confusion to overthrow your people and put them people in charge, which is an ancient tactic about putting up puppet kings. Even 586 BC, the siege of Jerusalem was finished. Zedekiah was set up as a puppet king. Let me pull up a definition of a puppet king. Right? Or a puppet ruler. A puppet ruler is someone who holds a title of political authority, but is loyal to or controlled by outside persons or groups. When a foreign government, like America, wields such outside control, the puppet ruler's territory is referred to a puppet state. So many of these countries, they don't have any power. They're in a puppet state, right? They're in a puppet state. They are being controlled by the elites. Trump is a puppet king. You know, Trump is a puppet king controlled by the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers. Okay. So these are puppet kings and a puppet state. And there are many puppet states on the earth right now that even a lot of men may not know about. Just because a guy has a suit and a tie, him at the Oval Office or shaking hands with Putin, or he's high and mighty, it doesn't mean he's running a damn thing. Right? These are men just set up to fulfill the will of the elites. And America is going to tell you, hey, look, here's what we want to do. But if you don't get down, you're going to have to lay down. So all these nations are drunk off of the wine of Babylon the Great. Let's go to Isaiah chapter 14. This Isaiah chapter 14 and verse number 5. I'm going to start at 4. That thou shalt take up this proverb against the king of Babylon and say, how hath the oppressor ceased? The golden city ceased. So once America's cut down, this is the talk that the men of the Lord are going to be talking, right? The oppressor, you have oppressed the earth, you have overthrown governments, and this is formerly the golden city. Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua hath broken the staff of the wicked and the scepter of the rulers. He who smote the people in wrath with the continual stroke, he that ruled the nations in anger is persecuted, and none hindereth. So the Bible tells you how he moves. He rules the nations in anger. He takes over kingdoms and he rules that nation. Right? And nobody stops him. And he smites them with a continual stroke, constantly beating them, molesting their children, stealing their gold, taking their oil, popping a women, set up the satanic temples and Walmarts and freakism and faggotism. These are the things that America does in the countries that they take over. Put a military base, an embassy, a Burger King, He'll fund your education system now. He'll take off all your history, and now you learn it from a textbook from a so-called white man. All of the kids in school, if you want to keep alive, if you want nations to trade with you, here, y'all gonna have to learn from these books now. Import American professors and American teachers, build schools, and now everybody's learning English. Everybody's learning their ABCs and 1, 2, 3s, and your country now is poisoned by the serpent's venom. And they're being raised up just like drunken old Edomites. That's how America rules the nations. They don't put you in chattel slavery. They do what the Romans did. They take you by policy. Tell you that in First Maccabees, the 8th chapter, Daniel, the 8th chapter. You know? So let's get a little bit more of this. All right, we covered that. Okay, hold on. Let's see. Okay, this is let's see, Iran's. Oh, that's not what I wanted. Okay, let me touch on this part. Make sure the screen is showing. Okay, we covered this. This was Operation Ajax, right? Where America, let me pull this up. Here it is. In 1953, Prime Minister of Iran, Mohammad Mossadegh, was overthrown in a coup d'etat orchestrated by the United States and the United Kingdom. And this is just public, man. This is just public information. A key motive was to protect British oil interests in Iran after Mossadegh nationalized and refused to concede to Western oil. That's where you get your BP from. BP gas station. That's your British Petroleum, right? British Petroleum. That's where it all started. British Petroleum. Okay. Now, here's how British Petroleum started. Founded as the Anglo-Persian Oil Company in 1909. Remember, Persia is the old name of Iran. Okay. So it was founded as the Anglo-Persian Oil Company in 1909, renamed British Petroleum in 1954, and shortened to BP in 2001 after major mergers with companies like Amco. Okay, so they started this company, and then they began to, here it is, they began to cause confusion because Iran wanted their oil back. So 1951, we covered this again. Iran's desire for greater control over its oil led to the nationalization of the AIOC's assets in 1951 under Prime Minister Mohammad Mossadegh. He said, we want our oil back. Britain said, no, we're taking that oil back. So they overthrew their kingdom and they set up their own king. Then Iran said, we had enough of that king. We're going to set up our own king. That was the Iranian riots, Iran Revolution in 1979. This is when they kicked out the puppet kings, right? It's when they threw out all of the puppet kings and they essentially set up their own king. And their own king's been ruling ever since. They overthrew the puppet kings, and Israel, Britain, and America have been mad ever since. Ever since then, they've been looking to take back over that oil. And that's why you see what you see in Iran. It's all over the oil. It has nothing to do with a dictatorship. It has nothing to do with a totalitarian government. It has everything, and it's always had everything to do with oil, gold, drugs, and resources. 1979, they said, the hell with your puppet king. We're going to put our own king in charge. And America has always, since that point, trying to overthrow these Iranian kings. You know, and they tried with this riot, but they shut that down. You know, they knew that's why America said, look, we ain't going to really bomb them because we ain't really capture them the way we wanted to capture them. Prior to this live, there was so much talk, and it still can happen, but there was so much talk of we coming in, an attack is imminent. But I believe that they're beginning to realize that they don't have as much control in Iran at this current moment as they thought they would. So it's somewhat as a failed operation. That's why Trump, about an hour before this live even started, he said, I don't see any more executions. So we're going to back out. That's not what happened. They didn't capitalize at the speed they thought they were going to capitalize in. Because Iran got word that these are backed up by Edomites. These riots are backed up by Edomites. And they shut it down. So America, they dust their hands off and say, well, okay, well, I don't know what's going on. We're going to leave. So we see through you devils, man. Hey, the Most High see through you. He said, then shall that wicked be revealed. You know, this 2 Thessalonians chapter 2 and verse number 8. And then shall that wicked be revealed, whom the Lord shall consume with the spirit of his mouth and shall destroy with the brightness of his coming. Even him whose coming is after the working of Satan with all power and signs and lying wonders. That's these devils, man. All the works that they do is after, it's all Satan. Discord, confusion, infiltration, just damn wickedness, man. Assassinations, poisoning people, lies. Why do you think Iran calls America the Great Satan? You think that's an accident? That they burned American flags? Imagine somebody coming in, listen to this. Imagine somebody coming in your house, turning your own son against you and your woman against you, paying them off, bribing them, threatening them, giving them weapons. And you never get to fight this person one-on-one. You always fight people who they pay off to come into your house. You'll be pissed, man. You never see this guy. He's always behind the scenes. But somebody always coming in your house with a weapon. And they got his name on it. You never see this guy. But he's always pulling the strings. Hey, you would hate that guy, man. That's how all these nations feel. Then they come in, they move a damn embassy in and a military base. That's why these nations hate America, man. The Lord said, let me get this, the nations were mad in Revelation 11, right? Revelation chapter 11 and verse number 18. It reads, and the nations were angry, right? They pissed. NATO was pissed. France is pissed. England, Germany, Spain, Russia, China, North Korea, Hamite nations, Iran, the nations were angry. Right? And the nations were angry, and thy wrath is come, and the time of the dead that they should be judged, and that thou shouldest give reward unto thy servants the prophets, and to the saints, and them that fear thy name, small and great, and shouldest destroy them which destroy the earth. And that's all they've done. All they've done, all they've ever done was destroy the earth. They have to go. They've destroyed kingdoms. They've lied. They've done everything that the Most High said don't do. Right? They got to go. 2nd Ezra, chapter 11 and verse number 40. And the fourth came and overcame all the beasts that were past, and had power over the world with great fearfulness, and over the whole compass of the earth with much oppression. And so long time dwelt he upon the earth with deceit. The fourth beast is the Roman Empire. When you read Daniel, the 7th chapter, you read about the little horn, which is America. America is part of that Roman Empire. Right? And America rules the whole compass of the earth. They're the beast that was and is not and yet is. They are the Roman Empire, pursuant to Revelation 17 and 8. And they're the revised Roman Empire, should I say. And the Lord said, and so long time dwelt he upon the earth with deceit. And he's deceived everybody. He lied to us about who we are, where we came from, who our fathers are, what the earth is, how the earth was made, who's the Most High, who the angels are. This devil lied about everything. He's literally lied about the creation. He lied about everything, man. I mean, when you really sit back and think about it, how he came into power, he lied about that. Where he came from, who he is, what his end game is, what's the truth, what's not the truth, who that nation is. He know all this stuff, man. It says, so long time dwelt he upon the earth with deceit. For the earth hast thou not judged with truth. For thou hast afflicted the meek. Thou hast hurt the peaceable. Thou hast loved liars. That's your Mossad, your CIA, your MI6, your Illuministic families, Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, the Oppenheimers, the DuPonts, Warburgers. You have loved liars and destroyed the dwellings of them that brought forth fruit. Right? You destroy lands that bring forth resources, and has cast down the walls of such as did thee no harm. Yet nobody did nothing to you, but yet you in a land. You cast down their walls, you overthrow their kingdoms, take their women, molest their boys, sex traffic them at the Pentagon, freak off with them, sacrifice them, drink their blood, harvest their organs. This Rockefeller dude had 15 heart transplants. Where'd he get all them hearts from and organs? Nobody even knows how old he actually was. I don't care what the articles say. I believe he was older than what they said. Man, this guy had to have been 150 years old on some spiritual demonic energy. Let me see this. How old was that? David Rockefeller? One of them Rockefellers just died. How old? Which one was that? Was that David? Right, one of these guys. Yeah, they say 101. I don't believe that. I don't believe he was 101, right? I mean, look at this guy, man. I mean, this guy was probably 150 years old, man. 200 years old. Trying to live like Lamech and Adam and Noah, try to tap into that energy, man. Want to be 930 years old, 969 years old, 175 like Abraham. So let me go back to this. It says, and cast down the walls of such as did thee no harm. Therefore, is thy wrongful dealing come up unto the highest, and thy pride unto the mighty. So all your sins have reached unto heaven. The highest also hath looked upon the proud times, and behold, they are ended, and his abominations are fulfilled. And therefore appear no more thou eagle, nor thy horrible wings, nor thy wicked feathers, nor thy malicious heads, nor thy hurtful claws, nor all thy vain body, that all the earth may be refreshed, and may return, being delivered, it's like from thy violence, and that she may hope for the judgment and mercy of him that made her. So when this devil is taken out, the whole earth is going to be refreshed. Tell you that in Isaiah 14 chapter. They break forth into singing. The trees or the nations are going to clap their hands. The air is going to be clean all over again. All these elements that they harvested, they didn't worn out the earth, man. They have expedited the age of the earth through abuse. You think the Most High created oil for jet fuel? You think he created these elements for the way that Esau creates them? The scriptures say that all things are good for the godly, so being So the evil turned them to wickedness, right? Let me get it. Sirach 39, 26. Greatly paraphrasing, right? This Ecclesiasticus chapter 39 or 27. I'll read straight to the point. 27. All these things are good to the godly, so to the sinners they are turned into evil. Yeah, they turned gold into evil, right? They turned oil into evil. They turned uranium. They made bombs. Hydrogen, which is an element that the Most High used for his reasoning and his judgment, they turned it to a bomb. Confiscate all of the gold, the diamonds, splitting the molecules, freaking off. They turn everything into evil. And there are things that these properties, now you can say, well, prove it. I can't prove it, but I believe through faith that there are properties of these elements that can totally transform man. Make you live longer, heal your skin, take care of your organs, your health, your bones. You could do certain things from a technological standpoint, but we don't know that. We don't have that. We're going to get that in the kingdom. That's how the kingdom is going to be built. Streets paved with gold and all that stuff. But nevertheless, they turn all these things into evil. So that's why they have to go. They have to go. They turn all things into confusion and evil. Now, I had this too. This is a list of CIA-backed coups, right? I'm not going to read the whole thing. Syria, 1949. A CIA-backed coup helped bring Colonel Hunsi Zayem to power. 1954, Operation PB Success backed a coup against President Jacobo Arbenz, who threatened the United States United Fruit Company interests over some fruit. They overthrew the kingdom over some fruit. Iran, 1953. Cuba, 1961. Vietnam, 1963. Bolivia, 1971. Chile, 1973. The CIA engaged in covert actions and economic warfare, leading to the coup against President Salvador Allende. Egypt, 1952. Indonesia, 1965. Dominican, 1965. Nicaragua, 1980s. And it goes on and on and on how this devil overthrows kingdoms through rape, through robbery, and through murder, and through his policy. Right? Rape, rob, and murder, and through his policy. Look at all of the years. Monroe Doctrine. There was another one a brother mentioned on a previous live. Oh, boy, man, what was it? I have to find it. It was essentially a policy created where America gave themselves the right to intervene in Latin American affairs. Was it the Calaro? See if is that what it was. Calaro. I have to find it. Right, but there was another one as well. We always touch on the big stick policy, the good neighbor policy, and there was another policy that they had along with the Monroe Doctrine that they used to be able to say, hey, look, we can go into Latin America and do what we want to do, right? Do whatever we want to do, right? Let's see. I have to go back and find it, right? But they had these different policies. So the point is, what's going on in Iran is nothing new, right? We know why these things are happening. We understand what the goal is and what the tactics are, is to overthrow these systems that they can establish their own king, to harvest the natural resources and use them as essentially a backing of the currency. That's what it is. A brother put it. Roosevelt corollary. The water for that. Right? Let me check that out. A brother put that in there. right? That's what it is. The Roosevelt corollary was President Roosevelt's addition to the Monroe Doctrine, asserting the United States' right to intervene in Latin American affairs to protect European interference, acting as an international police power. To correct chronic wrongdoing, that's hypocrisy. They're doing the wrongdoing, but they're passing laws so they can correct the wrongdoing that they caused. Or instability, particularly concerning debt, ultimately justifying U.S. interventions in the region, like the DR, to maintain stability and U.S. dominance, fostering both regional resentment and U.S. hegemony, right? So this is what they did. The Roosevelt corollary and dollar diplomacy. Let's pull that up. The dollar diplomacy was United States President William Howard Taft's foreign policy. All this is the wine. You may say, but what does that have to do with anything? This is the wine of America. When you really go into the grapes of their wine, like we always say, it's their philosophies, but it's really the key part is their foreign policies. Because that's what drives the military to invade and to have support. It's a foreign policy, right? Which is really a philosophy, right? That's all it is. Dollar diplomacy was U.S. President William Howard Taft's foreign policy using American financial power, guaranteeing loans and investing private capital to promote stability and U.S. economic interests in Latin America and East Asia, replacing military force, dollars for bullets. Damn. These devils are wicked, man. And we're going to stop killing you. We're going to stop bombing you. We're going to stop raping you, destroying you. Just use these dollars. Keep them in your bank, right? This is going to be the world currency. You can only trade with our dollars. Don't trade with no other currency. Don't do your own thing. Hey, hold this. And when you hold it, you got to pay it back on interest to the Federal Reserve, so you're forever in debt. And we're going to capitalize off of it. We'll stop killing you. Hold that, man. Use that dollar. That's wickedness. That's called bribery and extortion. That's called extortion. Let me get this precept real quick. All right. That's called extortion. First, and this guy's a demon, man. 1 Corinthians chapter 6 and 10. Nor thieves, nor covetous, nor drunkards, nor revilers, nor extortioners shall inherit the kingdom of God. So it's over. The Most High is against extortion, right? He is against extortion. Let's go back to this. Okay, so they replaced dollars for bullets, but seen as economic imperialism, fostering resentment and later instability. Substitute dollars for bullets. All right. And it was to expand the U.S. influence. This is their wine. These are their policies. These are their strongholds. That's why we read that in the book of Habakkuk, the 2nd chapter. Nahum. You know, let's get that in through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shema Shai. Let's get that in the book of let's do Proverbs. There's a lot I'm thinking of, but let's go to Proverbs 23. This Proverbs chapter 23 and verse number 29. Who hath woe? Who hath sorrow? Who hath contentions? Who hath babblings? Who hath wounds without cause? Who has redness of eyes? And this applies to a man that's physically intoxicated. These are characteristics of somebody that's literally drunk. They have problems, they're depressed, they're argumentative, they're strife, they babble and run their mouth, they get into fights, their eyes are red. But on a spiritual level, when you apply it to how nations are affected by foreign policy, it makes perfect sense, because all these nations, they have sorrow, they have woe, they don't have any money, they're in debt, They can't access their own natural resources. They're always being bombed. There's always some internal instability, right? They're always trying to speak and plead their cause. They have wounds without cause. They're getting beat up and bombed. They didn't do anything. They're worn out and depressed because they get in bed with America, right? Who has these things? Here's the answer. They that tarry long at the wine, they that go to seek mixed wine. So a lot of these nations who deal with America, that's what they get. You get woe, you get sorrow, you get contentions, you get Babylons and bombs and destruction and depression. Because you're dealing and tarrying long at these summits. You're sitting at the table with America, you're signing contracts, accepting their legislation, and you're seeking their approval. Look not thou upon the wine when it is red, when it giveth its color in the cup, when it moveth itself aright. At the last it biteth like a serpent and stingeth like an adder. And that's what happens. But next thing you know, your currency ain't worth nothing. Your citizens are destroyed. They're all homosexuals. They're bugged out. You have no natural resources. You have paper money that's worth nothing. Your country's in debt. At the last, you find out, damn, I'm going, I don't have anything. A lot of these nations, they know that. That's why they always kicked out Amalek out of those countries. Amalek was always getting chased out of different countries because they were always poisoning people. Through their philosophies, through the banking, through the financial institution, they were always getting kicked out from land to land to land. Thine eyes shall behold strange women, and thine heart shall utter perverse things. Right? You start celebrating Christmas, dealing with the philosophies of America, chanting USA. Yea, thou shalt be as he that lieth down in the midst of the sea, or as he that lieth upon the top of a mast. So you'll be completely confused and bugged out. So again, keep watch, man. Right now, as of late, Iran, well, let me play this clip. This is the last clip. Iran is on the verge of being cut down. Now, Trump said we're not going to fire any weapons right now. That's what he said last time I checked. But again, they're talking about their jets still flying, and airspace is closed. China's still showing their jets. Russia said, don't do anything stupid or we going to come in there. America's sending warships out there. They say it's going to take about a week for it to get to the Red Sea. So when they say peace and safety, then it's sudden destruction. Just because you may not see a nuke dropped, it doesn't mean that the Most High is not working. He's always working. He's always working. He says every morning he bringeth his judgment to light. Every morning. So let me play this clip real quick. And I may get one more precept. I may close out. But I want to get this about another reason why they're going deep into Iran. A retired U.S. General, Wesley Clark, said it all. Let's play this.
Destabilize the Middle East. They wanted us to destabilize the Middle East, turn it upside down, make it under our control. I went through the Pentagon 10 days after 9/11. I went downstairs, I was leaving the Pentagon, and an officer from the Joint Staff called me into his office, and he said, I want you to know, he said, sir, we're going to attack Iraq. And I said, why? He said, we don't know. He said, I said, well, did they tie Saddam to 9/11? He said, no. And then I came back to the Pentagon about 6 weeks later. I saw the same officer. I said, why haven't we attacked Iraq? We're still going to attack Iraq? He said, oh, sir. He says, it's worse than that. He pulled up a piece of paper off his desk. He said, I just got this memo from the Secretary of Defense's office that says we're going to attack and destroy the governments in 7 countries in 5 years. We're going to start with Iraq, and then we're going to move to Syria, Lebanon, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and Iran. I said, is that a classified memo? He said, yes, sir.
You see, they already took down most of those other countries. And Somalia, they were just beefing with Somalia.
destroy the governments in 7 countries in 5 years. We're going to start with Iraq, and then we're going to move to Syria, Lebanon, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and Iran.
And they got Libya, right? They already took out Gaddafi. They already got their thing going on. They got Egypt. They got Sudan. They got Saddam Hussein, Iraq. They beefing with Somalia now. And they took down Syria not too long ago, put on their own puppet king. Now they're coming after Iran. Let's play it one more time.
The Secretary of Defense's office, it says we're going to attack and destroy the governments in 7 countries in 5 years. We're going to start with Iraq, and then we're going to move to Syria, Lebanon, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and Iran. I said, is that a classified memo? He said, yes, sir. I said, well, don't show it to me. This country was taken over by a group of people with a policy coup. This wasn't what the American people voted George Bush into office. Well, they didn't actually vote into office. But it wasn't what many of the people who...
So he said it all. The Lord said it all. You can't get around it, right? You can't get around it. And with that, we're going to close up, giving, of course, all honor and glory to Yahweh, by Shema Mashiach Malak Ebashai. Most High willing you are edified. There's a lot more we're going to touch on this upcoming Shabbat. And I had to just separate this from the rest of everything going on. So this upcoming Shabbat, midnight, Friday night at midnight, we're going to dive more into what's going on independent of this, because there's so much going on the earth. All hell is breaking loose. I couldn't just go into everything at once. So keep watch, tune into that lesson. Pay attention to what the Most High is doing on the earth. Repent, stay in the spirit. Make sure you're praying. Make sure you're fasting. Make sure you're examining yourself. You're keeping the commandments. You're getting your house in order. And you're abstaining from all manner of evil, confusion, and wickedness. Kwame Shalom. Shalom.